Roisman, who shot that film, also shot The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, and those were two films that Drew Daniels and I really studied to see how to capture New York on film and in a widescreen format. And then Taking of Pelham takes place underground in dark subway, and French Connection has a lot of nighttime sequences. So how to shoot night in New York without over lighting and trying to use as much natural lighting as possible, getting an exposure. so yeah.
I remember you telling me that, like, this, from the time that the car was towed to them going back to the club and finding Yvonne was like, you thought it was going to be about 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
How did it not become that?
I don't know. That was the one surprising part for me. That I think it was during production we started to realize, okay, we called it the crawl. It was post the tow truck incident and before we reveal Yvonne again at HQ. We were going to spend time with this motley crew, out on the streets of Brighton Beach, looking for Yvonne in all the establishments. And we shot a lot. We shot a ton. But then it was just, it was that one. I was wrong. I was wrong about how long we'd be in that section. I think we needed to speed it up. So it got whittled down to about 4.5 to 5 minutes at the most. But it was fun to shoot, I have to say. Because we shot it in a very docu-style way. We went on the Brighton Beach Boulevard on several nights, and we would have our actors go into some of these restaurants, these establishments, and we would shoot it from the sidewalk without the patrons of the restaurant knowing. So they had their, wireless mic, and they would go in, and Karen would be going from table to table with this photo of Yvonne saying, "Have you seen this guy? Have you seen this guy?" And we would get gold, like that woman saying, "Oh, perhaps he was kidnapped," stuff like that. And then, of course, then we would say, "Look, right over there, you see there's a camera where this is an independent film. Would you please sign this release?" And 100% of the time, they would say yes. That doesn't really happen in LA, I must say, because people are a little more savvy with the industry here, and yeah, that's a whole other topic. But anyway, it was really fun to shoot, and my actors were incredible, and they had to improvise all that stuff.
You're in the last Q&A. You're kind of promoting the value of physical media, Blu-ray, DVD. I feel like with this movie, you have, like, if you really want to reward people and kind of incentivize some physical media purchases, you have so much footage.
There's a lot that was left on the cutting room floor. A lot of gold. A lot. They
what do you want to see,
Killing
Mikey,
My Darlings.
that wasn't in this movie? What do you want to see? Like what do you want to see more of on the Blu-ray?
I don't know. I honestly think that the way Sean edited the film, it's perfect. I don't really like using that word, but I think that everything that needed to be in the film ended up there. But I do remember Sean leaving me all these voice messages talking about hilarious things that happened, a lot of things in the club, situations that are completely improvised, of Annie going up to clients. He would send me voice memos hysterically laughing, talking about some of these things. And so I wish that I could, even if I just get to see some of those, because I don't really remember them.
You're talking about the opening of the movie, where you're going from client to client, and it's
shot a lot. We shot
like
a lot
4.5 minutes in the movie, but you shot three
bags, so it's just 30 minutes of just setting up the club in the beginning, and it was really reliant on Mikey doing all that improv. I had her just wandering the club, and you'd shoot her with the telephoto lens, going from person to person, and having a different interaction with each person. And it really, that was able to happen because of the amount of research Mikey did, spending time at that club, shadowing dancers, understanding how these interactions and transactions take place. There were also two big scenes with Ivy Woke that were removed because of timing. Maybe those scenes will make it onto a disc sometime. They set up her character a little bit more and had a lot more of her her amazing, comic improv.
The one section of the film that I think is just pretty much intact and is the home invasion, which is what, 28 minutes? It's
28 minutes.
Yeah. And Mikey, you had I think when you guys were discussing this before shooting it, Sean asked, for thoughts, and you were like, more brawl. Is that what I understand was your request, or more brawl is?
I think that me saying like more brawl the better was referencing a fight at the club between Annie and a coworker.
Yeah.
It wasn't referencing the middle home invasion scene.
But there's a lot of brawl in that too. Well, you were saying that, when you shot that before the opening scene, and you still had bruises left over from the home invasion scene, that was a real physical.
Yeah, and Mikey was doing her own stunts with Yura
Yeah.
for the home invasion. It's quite impressive.
And yet, and we were talking about this last week, Yura is from the moment you meet him or see him in that home invasion scene, you see just this little flash of something. My assumption when I saw it was okay, this guy's just a goon, and he's just in there, he's the muscle. But then you immediately see these soulful looks on his face, there's something simmering underneath. Was that always there, and how much did you develop that?
Well, yeah, that had to be there because obviously we knew where it was going. But he gave me an incredibly consistently subtle performance all the way through, and it was really up to me to be how much to hold on him sometimes, in the edit. That would determine how much, when we show our hand or if we show our hand. Overall, Yura is just an absolutely incredible actor. He plays Eager in the film, in case you guys don't know who we're talking about. Yor Borisov. I saw him in Compartment Number 6, a wonderful Finnish film that I highly recommend, directed by Juho Kusmasen, who was at Cannes the year I was there with Red Rocket, and I had already been developing this story, so I knew there was going to be this heavy character, and the minute I saw Yura on the big screen, I knew it was for him. So actually, he was precast, Karin was precast, and Mikey was precast before I wrote the screenplay.
And Mikey, you were telling me that Yura kind of took you a little by surprise. Can you talk about working with him and how that changed, what you expected the relationship between? Because obviously we know where the story's going, but I don't know, the depth of it is just took me by surprise.
Yura's just a very unique, surprising person in general. And so I think inherently the characters he plays, he brings so much of that into it. He's an incredibly talented actor. He's such an interesting, specific perception of character. And what I read on the page was amazing, but what Yura brought to it I would never have imagined that kind of character. Mm-hmm. I remember just starting to work with him, and my character, I was just sort of hurling insults at him, and he looked genuinely hurt by it. And it's such an interesting choice as an actor to have his character be so hurt by those things.
He's the tough guy, but no, you're hurting him by saying these things too.
He brought a sensitivity and, like you said, a deep soulfulness to his character that I never would have thought would be there. Yeah. And so inherently that changes how Annie acts towards him. It changes so much, and he's constantly surprising me. And bringing all this interesting improvisation and physicality into his character, and so I think that it changed, it informed a lot of how Annie feels about him. And I always felt his eyes on me too. Always watching me, like even when we weren't shooting, but not in a weird way, just in a thoughtful way. The way that he had immersed himself into the character, it was very generous of him.
It kind of made you laugh too. Like, I remember you telling me one time that, like, you guys were, during the home invasion scene, he's got you in a bear hug there on the couch, and stopped filming, and he was asking, "Am I holding you too tight, or what?" Do you remember that? Like, yeah.
That was, I mean, we literally only knew each other for a couple
Right.
days, and that entire sequence was so exhausting to shoot, like mentally and physically. And I'm having to like sit on Yora's lap, and he's like bear hugging me for like 2 days or something. And so and my hands are like tied behind my back, so I kept getting up, and I was like, Yura, like I'm worried that I'm like crushing you or something. And he was just hugging me, and he was like, no. He was just giving me like a sweet hug. He was comforting me in that moment, and it was just very kind of him and sweet. That's just the kind of person that he is, very, very loving.
And he brought so many ideas to the table. I mean, it was his idea to have it be Igor's birthday the day before. He pitched it to me. I was like, thank you, dude. I wrote it right in. He brought Mark to the picture because we were thinking about stunt casting the Yvonne role with a young pop star, like a hip hop star. And he said, well, this character, it requires some depth here. I don't know if you're gonna get that from a non-actor. I just worked with this wonderful young actor by the name of Mark Edelstein, and I highly recommend him. Well, there he is.
Well, we've got the wrap-up sign. We've got to go to another theater. It's a movie I could talk about for hours. Maybe the Blu-ray bonus features, right? We'll have more Q&As, but thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And I just want to say one thing. You guys came out and saw it on the big screen, and it means so much to us. We shot this film for theaters, so thank you for supporting theaters, and thank you for supporting independent cinema.